Dear friends, I hope this finds you well. This was, of course, a very challenging week in many ways with the situation in Israel, ongoing situation, and back home with the devastating bushfires in New South Wales now spreading farther north. It's really an awful situation. And it's a week like this which, produces lots of anxiety and lots of stress, and it's also sometimes hard to feel like, what's going on in this world. The world seems to literally be on fire. And I think that we can get a bit of perspective from our Parsha, Parshat Vayera. There's a lot going on in the Parsha. But we see Avraham never giving up on the world, no matter how difficult things might be. First off, of course, there's the famous argument that Avraham has with God when God announces his intention to destroy the cities of Sodom and Amorah. And Avraham says, you can't. Maybe there's 50 righteous people in the city. If there's 50 righteous people in the city, you can't destroy the city. Then God says, fine, if there's 50, I won't destroy. And they find out there's not 50, so Avram says, maybe there's 40. God says, fine, for 40 I won't destroy, all the way down. Finally, Avram says, if there's 10 people, you can't destroy. Right? Avram says, okay, the whole city might be awful, but there's 10 individuals. If there's 10 individuals, then you can't destroy it. And God says, you know what, if there's 10 righteous individuals, I won't destroy it. And unfortunately, there weren't 10 righteous individuals. I think that's the first point of Avraham trying to say, okay, if there's goodness in that city, even if there's difficulty in the world, preserve the city just for that little bit of goodness. Even if everything else is it seems awful, there's a bit of goodness. But why 10? Why 10? And there's many answers given. Why not 9, right? 10, I think, is that there's a small community. 9 individuals is not a community, it's 9 individuals. But 10 people, if there's a small community of like-minded people doing the right thing, that's enough to save even a place like Sodom. And unfortunately, it wasn't there. And so that's the first thing that Avraham was fighting to say, okay, God, even within all this darkness, if there's a small community of people who are doing the right thing, they are worthy of being saved. But then also, I think we need to look at Avraham's response. The next morning when he wakes up, he'd been praying the whole night, asking God to save the city. He fails. He wakes up in the morning, and what is the first thing that he does? It says, he went to the place that he was standing before. He returned to that place, and of course, our sages learn out from there the source of davening. Shacharit, Vayashkem Avram Baboker. Avram got up in the morning and he returned to the place that he had been standing, and they say that standing, of course, is a reference to prayer. So Avram gets up, and what does he do immediately? He starts to pray. He just prayed to God the day before to try to save Sodom. He thought something in his mind. He worked for it. He fought for it. God said no. Avram woke up in the morning. He could smell the sulfur outside, right? Smell of sulfur in the morning. And what does he do? He doesn't say, it's hopeless. He gets back and he starts to pray again. And so we see here a powerful lesson from Avram about what prayer is really all about. And also an approach to life. Prayer is not just trying to get what we want, and if we don't get it, then we give up. Prayer is a dialogue. Prayer is an open dialogue with Hashem. Sometimes our words are accepted and sometimes they're not, and we learn from that as well. But the key is to keep on being involved in that dialogue, to continue to fight for the good, to see the good, to clarify what is good within this world. And so in light of all the difficult things, may we, wherever you might be listening to this, may we continue to form a community of like-minded people who are doing good. Amidst all of the craziness, all of the darkness, there are good people in this world. Let's continue to believe in that. Let's continue to fight for the goodness. May Hashem Please, God, bring the rains in Australia and allow these forest fires to calm down and prevent further loss of life and damage. And may Hashem bring peace in Eretz Yisrael. Most importantly, peace in Eretz Yisrael and peace in the whole world. With that, I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.